Hello friends, today we'll discuss the general properties of the viruses. In this session we are going to discuss introduction, morphology, replication, classification and genetics. The virus, the term has Latin origin which means poison, venom or contagion. The virus has got certain fundamental characteristics. It does not have any cellular organization. It contains nucleic acid, either DNA or RNA. They are intracellular parasites and they do not possess any metabolic capabilities. So they are a link between living and non-living, as outside the cell they do not multiply, but within the cell they multiply. The origin of viruses are unknown, but there are two theories for that. The one is host cell theory, where DNA or RNA of nucleic acid, that is one of the component of host cell, become independent and it can replicate autonomously. Second is intracellular parasite. Now, they may be a degenerate form of intracellular parasite. The size of a virus can be measured in nanometer, and they are very small structure, and most of the viruses, they fall in this particular zone, and that is much less than the resolution power of the light microscope. So they can be seen with electron microscope. Next is morphology. There are two important features to be discussed. One is the size and other is the shape of the virus. Over here you can see the size of RBC, and in comparison to that the size of E. coli. Right? On an average the size of RBC is 7.2 micrometer, and in comparison to that the size of E. coli. And if you compare the size of E. coli, that is something around 5 to 7 micron in size, the length, you can see over here the comparative size of the largest pox virus and the bacteriophage. So over here you can see the largest virus, that is the smallpox virus. The size is 200 to 300 nanometer, and the smallest virus which is seen over here is poliovirus. Now in morphology, the shape is very important. You can see over here most of the viruses are spherical in shape, while some of the viruses are having a different shape. In case of a Ebola virus, they are filamentous in shape. The rabies virus is bullet shaped virus, right? And the smallpox virus is of complex shape, right? As once again you can see most of the viruses are spherical in nature. Now next point is chemical composition. The virus is made up of nucleic acid and structural proteins. So DNA or RNA along with the protein and some enzymes will make a nucleocapsid, and such type of viruses are naked capsid viruses. When nucleocapsid is surrounded by glycoprotein envelope, they become envelope viruses. So viruses can be naked virus or it can be envelope. Next point is symmetry of the virus. When we talk about the symmetry of virus, we talk about nucleocapsid arrangement, not about the whole virus. The nucleocapsid symmetry of three different types: icosahedral, which can be seen in the center part, that is icosahedral symmetry, the helical symmetry, and a complex symmetry. So virus can have any of these three symmetry. We can see that how helical symmetry is formed. In this particular figure, you can see nucleic acid is being encircled by small protein molecules, that is capsomeres. These are small capsomeres, and such type of chain of capsomeres which is arranged helically will make the whole nucleocapsid. So capsomeres make capsid, and capsid would encircle nucleic acid, so it will become nucleocapsid. It has got a protective role. Another is icosahedral, where this capsid are made up of such type of capsomere. When capsomeres get arranged either in a 5 or in 6 number, that is penton or hexon, and such type of pentons and hexons will get arranged into a spherical type of virus, and this is called as icosahedral symmetry. Remember, we are talking about the symmetry of nucleic acid and not about the symmetry of the whole virus. So in short, once again, the symmetry can be helical or it can be icosahedral. Now if we have a look at this icosahedral symmetry, it has got three different rotational axes, and according to that rotational axis, it can be a twofold, it can be threefold, or it can be fivefold. So if you rotate the virus on one particular fold, right, you can rotate it twice and the shape of the virus would remain very similar, that is twofold. If you hold the virus in the next position, you can rotate the virus 3 times, right? So this is threefold symmetry, and in the last you can see you can hold the virus in such a position so that you can rotate it on this particular axis 5 times without changing the shape of the virus. So this is typically a feature of icosahedral symmetry, that is twofold, threefold, and fivefold. So in summary, virus can be a naked virus or it can be envelope virus. Nucleocapsid can be icosahedral or it can be helical. Over here you can see the icosahedral symmetry of the virus, which is being encircled by envelope. So it becomes envelope virus. It is spherical in shape, but the nucleocapsid is icosahedral in symmetry. In second one, you can see the nucleocapsid is helical in shape, and it is being encircled by envelope, and the virus becomes spherical, but nucleocapsid is helical in nature. If you look from the outside, the envelope protein can be seen, but if you have a look at the cut section, you can see outer side, that is envelope, and inside nucleic acid can be seen. Next is viral replication. Viral replication is pretty long process and it involves multiple complex steps. In this figure, there are 9 steps which are described. The replication of virus starts with the recognition of the molecule, that is the receptor present on the virus and the receptor present on host cell. That is highly specific reaction, and because of that there are different type of viruses that will infect the animals, birds, and humans. And even in humans there are different viruses which will infect different organs, right? And because the receptor to receptor interaction is highly specific. So first, when virus would identify the receptor, it will attach, and next step would be penetration. Now this penetration is different for two different type of viruses. As we can see in this figure, naked viruses are taken up directly, and you can see they are going inside. This happens in naked virus, while in case of envelope virus, the envelope would merge with a cell membrane and nucleic acid is going inside. So you can see over here is attachment and then penetration. Now once inside, whether it is naked virus or it is envelope virus, the thing which enters inside is nucleocapsid, and there has to be uncoating of that. So next step is uncoating, in which nucleocapsid is separated into protein and nucleic acid. So nucleic acid is now free. Once it is free inside, the next step, number 5, is transcription, in which nucleic acid is multiplied, and once this multiplied nucleic acid is generated, it will go for the next step, that is protein synthesis, step number 6. So proteins are synthesized, and these proteins are specific for the virus molecules. The host machinery is used for this all metabolism. And the next step, there is more application of nucleic acid which is required for the new virus molecules. So after generation of the nucleic acid and after generation of a protein, the next step would be assembly. The assembly can happen either in a cytoplasm or in nucleic acid, and this assembly will make new virus particles. Once the new virus particles are formed, they are ready to go outside. Once again, there are two different processes. One is for envelope virus and one for naked virus. Naked virus would lyse the cell membrane and they are released outside. While in case of envelope virus, there are specific portion of the cell membrane which gets surface molecules on it, and from that particular area, you can see over here, this virus nucleocapsid will go outside, and this is called as budding. And this budding happens in which the nucleocapsid is surrounded by envelope, and that envelope is derived from the cell membrane of the host. So this is in short about the whole process of replication. Based on replication of a virus, they are also classified according to Baltimore classification. Now Baltimore classification is about how messenger RNA is generated during the replication process. So based on that, the viruses are classified into different classes. The class number 1 is double-stranded DNA. Now double-stranded DNA will directly generate positive sense messenger RNA. Class number 2 are positive sense single-stranded DNA. So which will first generate double-stranded DNA and then it will generate messenger RNA. Third class is double-stranded RNA. Double-stranded RNA will directly generate messenger RNA. The fourth class is positive sense RNA, which will generate negative sense RNA and then it will generate positive sense messenger RNA. The fifth are negative sense RNA, which can directly generate messenger RNA positive sense. And the class 6 are positive sense RNA, but it will generate negative sense DNA then double-stranded DNA, and then it will generate messenger RNA. So class 6 are also called as retroviruses, as it generates DNA out of RNA. The viruses can also be classified on several other parameters like the morphology. So based on that, the property, it can be nucleocapsid, and on the basis of nucleocapsid, they can be classified into icosahedral, helical, or complex. Second is envelope. Based on that, it can be classified into envelope viruses or non-envelope viruses. Based on nucleic acid, the property DNA or RNA, so viruses can be either DNA viruses or RNA viruses. Once again, it can be double-stranded viruses or single-stranded viruses. In double-stranded viruses, once again, it can be complete or incomplete. And in case of single-stranded viruses, either it can be positive sense or negative sense. The host viruses can be of animals, plant, and bacteriophage. According to system also, they can be classified, that is CNS, liver, skin, or CVS, right? So it can infect the particular organ system. Or it can be classified based on the transmission, that is either respiratory viruses, or it can be classified based on the vector, as for example arboviruses. So there are plenty of ways by which virus can be classified. So now we can have a look at the viruses, right? These are the DNA viruses, and DNA viruses, double-stranded DNA viruses and single-stranded DNA viruses. The important example of double-stranded viruses, that is pox virus, herpes virus, adenoma virus. In case of a single-stranded DNA virus, yeah, parvovirus, right? And there is one more class, double-stranded DNA virus, but they are classified into a retrovirus group, that is Hepedna virus. Now RNA viruses, once again double-stranded RNA virus, important example reovirus, and there are single-stranded RNA virus, right? Single-stranded RNA virus, positive sense and negative sense. The negative sense, single-stranded RNA virus, orthomyxovirus, rhabdovirus, filovirus. Right? There is one more class in single-stranded RNA virus, that is retrovirus. Single-stranded positive sense RNA virus, picornavirus, coronavirus. So these are the important viruses according to the morphology and the nucleic acid constituent. So important example of DNA virus, important family, herpes, parvo, papova, adeno, pox, hepedna. Important example of RNA virus family, paramyxo, orthomyxo, corona, arena, rhabdo, philo, bania, retro, rio, picorna, toga, flavi, noro, and delta. Now next is genetics. There are certain important terms which we need to understand. The first is the mutation. The replication of a virus is error-prone mechanism, and during this replication there is possibility of some error, and such type of error are mutations, right? There is a replacement of a nucleotide during the replication process. Another is recombination. When the whole chromosome or the segment of nucleic acid of virus, when they mix, there is possibility that there is an exchange of entire segment or only a portion of a segment that can happen, and this is called as recombination. Now there is one more mechanism, that is reassortment. Now reassortment is that when the viruses of a different origin like birds, animals and humans mix into a one particular host which can adapted or which is adapted to all different type of viruses, there is possibility that one cell getting infected by multiple strains of viruses, and during replication it may happen that the new virus particle which gets generated may have mixture of the segment of nucleic acid which has got an origin from different strain of viruses, right? Over here you can see the new virus which is over here is containing the segments of nucleic acid. You can see the green coming from this particular, the red segment coming from this particular, and blue coming from this particular strain of viruses. Now when this happens, this is called as reassortment, and new virus is having a totally different type of antigenic structure, and such type of virus can lead to large number of cases, epidemic and even pandemics, right? And this is one of the very important example for influenza. So in influenza there are two things happening which we must remember. One is antigenic drift and one is antigenic shift. You can see the antigenic drift which is happening over here. It is because of mutations, right? And the smaller mutations will lead to change of this particular antigen. These antigens are getting changed slowly. So slow change in antigenic property of the influenza virus is antigenic drift. While in case of antigenic shift, there is a mixture of the entire segment of nucleic acid, and because of that entire new antigenic strain appears, right? Because of this mixture of the segment of nucleic acid, and this is a sudden change, and this is called as antigenic shift, right? So once again you can see over here that there are two important things. One is drift, it is slow change, and other is shift, that is very rapid change. The drift happening because of the mutation and shift happening because of the genetic reassortment. Another important point is genetics. There are certain phenomena which happen because of that. The one is genetic reactivation. In that, one phenomena is marker rescue, in which some of the markers which are being rescued by one strain of virus from another strain. So there can be one non-viable and one viable virus. The marker or some of the important characters which are there in non-viable virus are being taken up or rescued by the virus which is viable. That is typically seen in influenza, in which if the two strains of viruses are grown, the strain gets additional characters of a growth, and they can grow in some of the culture media, cell culture media, which was not earlier present. So this is called as marker rescue. Another is multiplicity reactivation. Sometimes when viruses are killed by UV radiation, there are components of degenerated components of nucleic acid. It may happen that the segments of nucleic acid which is still viable will combine together and make the whole genome, and this will ultimately lead to reactivation of the original virus. That can happen in production of a viral vaccine, and if UV radiation is used as one of the method of viral deactivation, right? So now for preparation of viral vaccine, UV radiation is not being used. Third is viral interference. Now, what is viral interference? That when virus will grow, and if there is a presence of another virus, it may interfere, and this interference can either be positive or negative. As for example, the positive interference happens when oral polio vaccines are introduced into a community. There will be a secretion of this oral polio strain virus in a sewage, and it can also eradicate the wild polio virus strain which is there in community. So this is positive interference. While in case of a negative interference, if the individual is given OPV virus and individual is already having infection of enterovirus, this enterovirus may interfere in replication of oral polio virus vaccine, and it will inhibit the effect of oral polio vaccine. So this is viral interference. Both it can be positive or it can be negative. So with that, we here end the introduction of the viruses. Thank you.